Great, and officially welcome you all to Bridging Voices virtual training. Today, we're going to be covering the topic alternate access transitions from trackballs to eyeballs. Thank you all for joining us. We have a lot of names I recognize. Thank you for coming back. I love to see people come back for additional trainings. And we actually have a lot of new participants today. So if we go to the next slide, I know a lot of you know us already, but the agenda today is I'm going to give just a quick overview on Bridging Voice for a lot of our new participants and what we do as an organization. We'll then dive into today's topic, alternate access and communication transitions from trackballs to eyeballs, led by my colleague, Eddie Ehrlich. And then we're going to save about 20 minutes at the end of today's presentation for Q&A. So please, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll have an open Q&A at the end, and we always love to hear your guys' questions and feedback. Next slide. Okay, great. So just a quick overview on Bridging Voice. We are a nonprofit organization that supports ALS patients by providing a very holistic approach to technology needs related to communication and alternate access. So the challenge we saw as an organization is that not enough ALS patients know about the technology that's available. And even when they do get the technology that's available, there's an issue of technology abandonment. There's not enough support and training to really utilize the incredible technology that's out there. So our goal as an organization is to ensure that every ALS patient has access to the support they need to access their computer and to communicate. And that's why our whole team is here. We have a lot of our team members on today who you may have worked with, Deborah and Annie, Eddie, who's presenting today, Nahum, Devora, and Trinity, who's leading up our educational efforts. I think the important thing to note is that all of our services are provided remotely. So we work with PALs across the country. We've worked with PALs in 49 states. And all of our services are free of charge, regardless of insurance status. We want to make sure everyone has that support. So just to, I won't go into these in detail, but to give you a sense of what we mean by holistic support, our team works with you to help on everything from education so that you know what technology is available and help you obtain the right technology. We provide ongoing training remotely to you, to caregivers, to make sure you can get the most out of that technology. And then we have incredible programmers on our team that customize the technology for you, because we know, and Eddie's going to talk a little bit about this, but not all technology is ready to use right out of the box, and every case is different. So we're able to customize those solutions for you. We then provide ongoing technical support and training. So as your needs change, we're here for you. If there's any questions, we're here for you. And lastly, we're constantly working on innovations to support communication and computer access and make that as easy and useful to our clients as possible. Lastly, I just wanted to flag, we have 2 state initiatives. So if there's, I know we have some people on this call from New Jersey and Maryland. While Bridging Voice works with clients all over the country, and we actually work with clients all over the world. We've helped ALS clients in over 12 countries. But we have special state initiatives that we launched. Our first one was in New Jersey 2 years ago. Our newest one is in Maryland, which we launched last year. And with these initiatives, we can provide even additional support and resources to PALs in those states. So if you're interested, if you're either a practitioner or a PALs living in New Jersey or Maryland, you can go to either one of those websites and learn more about the initiative in your state. Or always feel free to reach out to us at info@bridgingvoice.org. And with that, next slide. Great, we're going to dive into today's topic, and I'm going to hand it off to my wonderful colleague, Eddie Ehrlich, who's an assistive technology specialist with Bridging Voice. And take it away, Eddie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Eddie. I'm an occupational therapist and an assistive technology specialist with Bridging Voice. This training, this Bridging Voice training, is part of a series about alternate access and communication for people with ALS. And this is part of a growing collection of videoed live workshops available through the Bridging Voice website and also on our YouTube channel. Today's topic is aimed at the big picture of the journey through alternate access and alternative communication options. I hope that the biggest takeaway for you from this session will be, although there are lots of challenges, there are lots of solutions too. The title, From Trackballs to Eyeballs, refers to the progressive nature of ALS, that PALS will likely move from simpler to more complex assistive technology solutions. And although I'm presenting today, any member of the Bridging Voice team can help you with any of the technology that I discussed today. So please schedule an individual session so that we can help meet your specific needs. I said that today's workshop is general in nature, the big picture. But if you want detailed specifics, we've done workshops and recorded them in the past that address specific questions like these, like how do I control my phone with my voice? Why might a trackball be easier to use than a mouse? What app can I use on my phone if people don't understand my speech? How should I position my eye tracker for greatest success? So these are more specific questions that we've collected from PALS, and we've given specific responses, and we would do that for you. You can find these links. Trinity is going to drop, I think, into the chat some of the links to these sessions and where you can find them. So, so look for them there. And you can notice already that the questions are roughly divided into two areas: the yellow alternate access kind of questions and the green alternative communication type of question. Bridging Voice assists people who are encountering challenges in both these categories, and they need alternate access solutions or alternative communication solutions. Just to clarify, access, this word access that I'll be bandying about quite a bit, it's another way of saying usage, right? It's difficult for me to use my device or to access my device interchangeably, right? The second category is communication challenges. These are speech intelligibility challenges. It's difficult for people to understand my speech. So these are, more lay terms to help, make this easier to understand. In today's session, despite the title Trackballs to Eyeballs, I will discuss neither alternative mousing devices nor like trackballs, or will I be discussing in detail eye tracking devices, but rather I want to describe generally those challenges and those solutions. There are access challenges, there are access solutions, there are communication challenges, and there are communication solutions, and then there are mixed challenges and mixed solutions. And for each of these, I'll present a quick case study to illustrate how a PALS might progress, encountering these challenges and implementing these solutions. Now, your ALS journey might not match neatly to any of these case studies exactly. You might have similar challenges and you might consider similar solutions. Remember, you do not need to know all the solutions. That's why we're here. Contact Bridging Voice and we'll help you. Let's start with access challenges. This is an overwhelming slide, and it's not meant to read through totally. The main point that I want to make here is that there are many access challenges, but there are many solutions. These are just 7 representative but not comprehensive questions that PALS often ask. And the Bridging Voice team is among the specialized professionals who can match the challenges with appropriate solutions. And if you look on the right side, you'll see that the alternate access solutions are divided into standard solutions and specialized solution. I see that my mouse is off, so it's interesting. There's a bit of offset. So specialized solutions and access solutions and standard solutions. So think of those as standard being simpler and specialized maybe more complex. Standard solution might be something that you could pull off the shelf and use or plug and play. A specialized solution might need to be more personalized, customized, tweaked, or there might be more training involved. Some of the difficulties, just that we at Bridging Voice, we've heard number 2. It's difficult for me to press 2 keys together on a standard keyboard. Number 5, it's difficult to swipe on a touch screen. Number 7, I'm unable to grasp, steady, or click a standard mouse. So these are the kinds of difficulties, challenges, questions that you might have. And so these are some of the solutions, a little bit in more detail, but not much. To give you an idea of what an alternate access solution is, here are a few specifics. So here are some of those standard ones that are simpler and easier to grasp, no pun intended. And again, the training is not so much about these specifics, but take a look. So 1, replace a mouse with a trackball or a trackpad. So if you look here on the left, you'll see a wired trackpad. Oops. Sorry, forward. Okay, a wire trackpad. I got to not click my mouse, and a large ball trackball below. So these are both kind of off-the-shelf replacements for a standard mouse that might be easier for a pals to use. 2, using a stylus on a screen instead of your finger. We have found that heavier, thicker, fatter styli are easier to grasp, easier to manipulate and hold. And if you cannot grasp the stylus, to be able to wrap it around your hand. So that's this lower picture where the stylus is embedded into a piece of foam and has a strap around your hand. So that it can allow you to point, swipe without having to grasp the stylus. Number 3, using sticky keys or an on-screen keyboard to ease keyboarding. So I circled these in red because I just want to spend a moment just to describe what these things are. So sticky keys. Sticky keys holds down the modifier keys on your keyboard. If you look at a keyboard, you'll see a shift key, a control key, an alt key. If you're on a Mac, you'll see a command key, an option key, the Windows key, the Apple key, all these modifiers that you press along with a number or a letter. Sometimes people think of those as keyboard shortcuts, but it might be just to capitalize a letter or to get a symbol like the @ symbol in an email address. How do you do that if you're only pressing with one finger? So sticky keys holds down or sticks down those modifier keys when you press them, so they can be joined with the following key press or presses. So it converts something that you have to do together into something that you do sequentially, one after the other. An on-screen keyboard, as it sounds, it replaces a physical keyboard and shows a working keyboard image on the screen, kind of like you would do at a bank ATM, or even on your cell phone. You have an on-screen keyboard. It's accessible via a mouse device, and it has word prediction and avoids the need to look down at your keyboard and back at the screen and back at your keyboard and back at the screen. So by putting the keyboard right on the screen, you're looking just in one place. So, and these solutions, sticky keys and an on-screen keyboard, they answer the question, I can't press 2 keys at once, or I can't use the mouse, but I can use my mouse, but I can use my mouse, but I can't keyboard. I can't get around the keyboard. So those are the solutions that go with those questions. Here, more specialized access solutions. Again, it's just a rough division, controlling and typing by speech instead of keyboarding and mousing. So number 4, the top picture is a picture of an iPhone with voice control running. You can see the number tags and the blue circle and microphone in the top tool strip at the top of the screen, the status bar. And you control by just saying the numbers in order to navigate. You can navigate totally hands-free. We have a training on this one also, and Trinity, you might want to put that in again. Dragon Professional software down below is for a Windows PC to control a Windows computer totally hands-free. Number 5, controlling the pointer by head or eye tracking. So your head moves in all directions, the four, ordinal directions for right, left, and up and down. And that's what you need to send to a pointer on the screen. So the individual who is looking at the iPad mini is wearing this Kuhazono, which is one of a number of different head mouse products. And below is the eye gaze camera plugin that you can use on a Windows system. That's a Tobii camera. So that's the PCI 5 camera. That's an addition onto a tablet or a computer. So again, these are access solutions. This particular slide, the specialized access solutions. Let's take a look at our first case study. So someone who would use these kinds of solutions because they have those kinds of questions. So there's a lot of information here. Again, Dennis has ALS of a limb onset type, and not surprisingly, therefore, he has more motor challenges. And so if you look at those two first sections, sort of the evaluation results, our intake results, how's your speech, how's your hands? That's the basic questions that are the essence of what we're asking. And someone like Dennis has more issues around motor status. So if you look in that second section, motor status, you're going to see he can use the standard mouse, but the typing rate is slow. So there's exactly that person that I was just referring to, the kind of person who, yes, mouse, keyboard difficulty. And switching from the mouse to the keyboard is difficult. Once he's on the mouse, he doesn't want to leave and go to the keyboard, and the keyboard is difficult. So for him, indeed, sticky keys, trying to get there. Sticky keys and an on-screen keyboard were indeed the initial solutions that were best for him. Additionally, we kept working with him. This is a good time to highlight that Bridging Voice, that PALS are repeat customers to Bridging Voice. We will continue to support, train, evaluate, recommend, retrain, reevaluate as your needs change. So Dennis started using a trackball when a typical mouse was difficult, and he had enough speech to use a little bit of voice control on his iPad. We also at Bridging Voice are looking to the future. What might be next in your progression? So that's the anticipated services that soon Dennis might need to supplement his speech with a communication app. His voice was kind of low volume when fatigued, and an amplifier might be helpful. We can also look at this progression on a map or a graph. Dennis presents, again, as a case along the first general path of progression. Those who experience earlier changes in their arms and hands, their motor difficulties, again, that limb onset, they will likely initially use a simple or a standard alternate access, such as Dennis is using sticky keys, but someone else might use a stylus. Someone else might have a little handle on the back of their phone that they stick in, like a pop-em that they can hold their phone more easily. And then later on, perhaps more complex or specialized access solutions, such as Dennis using voice output. Let's look now for another path or another progression. Dennis was case study number 1. His challenges were mostly access challenges, and his solutions were mostly alternate access solutions. Let's move on to the communication challenges and a case study that illustrates that progression. So once again, here's our long list of challenging questions, again, that won't exactly match the way you would ask the question. There are just, again, these representative 9 questions, not exhaustive, but you might recognize yourself in this list, or you might be concerned about what will be when I have even less volume than I have now. The point, again, is that although the list is long, in challenges, the list is also long when it comes to solutions. The solutions for alternate communication can be roughly divided again into different sections. We had before standard and specialized. Here we have communication apps, number one, light tech and manual communication, number two, and speech generating devices, number three. And again, we've done some training on these, certainly on communication apps, and we've discussed also what is AAC, alternative and augmentative communication solutions in general. So look for that as a resource from Bridging Voice as well. So let's go just quickly. We're going to run through in this general way. What are these three kinds of solutions? So communication app solutions for PALS, right? So communication apps are programs for your phone, tablet that will speak for you. You'll notice on this slide that there are no names of apps. There are no names of manufacturers. There are easily a dozen communication apps, and Bridging Voice is quite familiar with almost all of them, unless another one came out today or yesterday. But Bridging Voice is device agnostic. That means that it doesn't matter to us what app you already have. If it's working somewhat for you, we'll help make it work better. If it's not working at all, we'll help you start from the beginning. And if it's not appropriate, we'll recommend something else specific. If you turn to us, we will give you very specific names and specific training to help you make a selection that best matches your needs. So there are lots of choices, and there are lots of reasons to choose one app over another. The second group of solutions could be called light tech and manual communications. It's quite a broad array of light tech and manual communication methods. And these are generally not highly electronic, and they have generally no generated voice. They're usually very portable, they're straightforward to use, and they may, in their light techness or their manual method, require a partner to witness, to see, to write down what someone is doing. A good example, just to go around the horn here on the slide, a phrase board with a T-pointer, right? So the T-pointer is the stylus that's easy to grasp, and the board is a phrase board or a word board that a user is putting together sentences. So this is usually a custom-made solution when it comes to phrases. Although, let's skip down to the other rainbow board here, and you'll see the Bridging Voice new spelling and phrase boards. Trinity, you might want to put a link to that or a way to remind people how to find that or get one. Spelling by iLink is another method, so not by pointing, but by linking one's eyes. So this is iLink is a method to spelling with a manual communication board. But what I wanted to point out on the Bridging Voice board is that there is on the back or the second page of our boards is not letters, but categories and items. So most commonly needed items in ALS care. But of course, you can just cross out what's there and put in your custom. A call bell with a switch, so for nighttime use, or if you live in a large house or there's an indoor and an outdoor situation. So there are local call bells and switches. Bridging Voice has also a solution for a call bell in a nursing home setting. A portable amplifier. Again, there is tech there is some electronics, but it is not a generated voice, it is an amplified voice. The third category of alternative communication solutions would be the very well known speech generating devices. These are the expensive computer electronic devices that generate speech for you and are often mounted on a wheelchair or positioned near a bed. If you look down below, the red circles on this slide, sometimes an eye gaze device has sort of hidden cameras that you might not notice. Sorry again. and sometimes a very distinct camera. So there are many different speech generating device companies, and they look different, and you need to try different devices, and an assessment by a speech therapist is required to get speech generating device funding in most of the states of our union. So speech generating devices, again, are computers. And so it's not just about text and speech output, but about using the phone, texting, sending emails, getting access to the internet, playing games, watching TV, streaming services, everything that you use a computer for. Now let's look at a case study. Second case study. So this is Chuck, and he has Bulbar onset ALS, which again affects speech first before there are motor issues. So if you again review and maybe focus on the words that are bolded, so you can see that the speech status is already slow speech, low volume speech, and already the use of a boogie board or a scribble writing board in place. But in the motor evaluation, there were only minimal changes in the arms, in Chuck's arms. So Chuck started by using a communication app on his cell phone. If you look also above, he's ambulatory, he's working, right? He needs something on the go to supplement his low volume, slow speech. He did not want to use an amplifier, but considered it. And he had banked his voice, and he put his banked voice into that communication app so that he could sound a little bit more like himself rather than using a generic synthesizer. At some point, he switched his phone to an iOS phone, mostly because the app worked better on the iOS system than it did on the Android system, and he wanted a higher reliability. We always recommend that someone who has an electronic becomes more dependent on an electronic communication system will also have a manual communication board backup. And so that's in the anticipated services, right? What we're looking for as next is make sure that if Chuck's phone is not available, or he's in a position where it's hard for him to access the phone, that he'll have a paper board, a manual communication board, some sort of system will be able to communicate no matter what. Putting Chuck on the progression map, his progression is consistent with those who see earlier changes in their voice intelligibility, this Bulbar onset. And so at first they might, someone like Chuck might, supplement with light tech, a writing pad, a communication app might be next. And then back to light tech again for a manual communication board backup, right? So the progression is, again, along the axis on top that relates to the changes in voice intelligibility, along with relatively little change in motor ability. So the first two case studies that we looked at, Dennis and Chuck, had very distinct challenges and solutions. So Dennis was case study 1 with limb onset and with access challenges, and Chuck case study number 2, communication challenges with a Bulbar onset. But the truth is, or most often, the access challenges and communication challenges do not progress in isolation. They come together, they overlap. And the progression is mixed with both access and communication challenges. And so, if again, going back to the map, case study 1, was a big change in hand function. Case study 2 was a big change in voice intelligibility. But the ALS journey is usually not a straight line that hugs the line, so to speak. And likewise, alternate access and communication solutions are not a neat line either, and they're not, relegated to, separate areas. So again, the number 1 is this alternate access first. Number 2 is this alternative communication first. And in the third path, this, snaking line is more of a mixed alternative access and alternative communication together. And the path winds its way through both access and communication areas. And again, no matter what your path or progression, Bridging Voice can help you compensate and navigate with solutions. The case study for this is Allie, who, when we first met Allie, fully intelligible, right? Her voice was intact, and she wanted to continue using her iPhone. She had already experienced changes in her arms and hands, and so they were not realistic access methods. And so we started with voice control. And on iPhone and using iPad and being able to use the iPhone and the iPad side by voice. But subsequently, there was a decline in her speech intelligibility. And so she went to putting a communication app, one that would speak for her, on her iPad, but she did not have the voice control anymore to control the device. And so she moved to a head mouse. In order to continue using her iOS device, her iPad, and the iPad needed to be mounted so that it was stable, so that the head mouse was raised high and that Allie would be able to access it. At that time, she wasn't able to call out anymore for help at night, and she lived in a large house. She needed a call bell system. And then when head mousing became more difficult, she needed an eye gaze-based speech generating device, and she went for an evaluation of one with vendors coming to her home, and she eventually received her Windows-based speech generating device and had to make that switch from an iOS devices to Windows. She did that very reluctantly. She got a device previous to there being speech generating devices that were based on iPad or iOS devices. Now there's more choice. So Allie's path in the case study, again, is one of those curvy paths and kind of going back and forth between access and communication. So voice input as an access method, then a communication app on her iPad as a communication solution. A call bell solution is kind of a light tech. Then back over for access, being able to access via head mouse and having to mount the iPad so that the head mouse would work effectively. And here, the Windows-based eye gaze speech generating device, again, is kind of a mixture of the two. It's a communication device for sure, but it's based on an eye gaze access method. So that's why it's kind of a yellow-green mixed label. So here are our three paths: access first, communication first, and mixed. On each progression, I've added these circles. So think about maybe what those circles are. There's no actually label for these circles. So I'll tell you what they are. They're what I would call inflection points, right? An inflection point. So along your journey, there's a circle. An inflection point is when it's time to consider a new solution. Inflection points are when changes occur, often leading Bridging Voice team to reassess your needs. For PALS, it's when to ask for help. It's new challenges appear. The present system isn't working. It also may be a time of confusion or anxiety to consider what might happen in the future. What's next? It's not clear to you, how I will be able to continue using the current system that I'm using now. So what is the next step? All of these inflection points are great times to reach out to Bridging Voice for guidance. We can help you evaluate you for a different access method, time for a communication or a speech generating device evaluation. We can guide you to the resources near you, the people that can help you. So again, quick overview. Think of this as a flashcard. The problem list is long. So here are the access challenges and the communication challenges, but the access and communication solutions list is also long. So Bridging Voice would like to help you on your progression, on your journey. And when you have a question, when you get to an inflection point, reach out to Bridging Voice. Thank you. I hope I've left some time for questions. Trinity, are you there?
I'm here. Can you go to the next slide for me?
I can.
All right. So for those of you who are looking for CEUs, I'm going to go ahead and drop the certificate of attendance into the chat. If you could please fill it out so we and say that you had come to join us today. We're going to do question and answer in just a second, but if you would like to join us for future trainings, and if there's something that you might like to see in the future training on, please feel free to share that. I'm going to go ahead and drop the future trainings link here. And if you have any questions about anything education related or CEU, please feel free to reach out and let us know. And I'll
Trinity,
go ahead and drop my email in.
I saw that someone had asked about, what the name of that head mouse was. And I just wanted to reiterate that, that one that was shown was a Kuhazono, spelled with a Q, Q-U-H-A. But there are three competitive products, at least three competitive products for the head mousing market. And they're each quite expensive. So please don't see that as, again, a unique solution. There are multiple solutions, and there might be ones that fit your needs best.
All right. Are you ready to transition to question and answer, Eddie?
I am. I already did.
Okay, perfect. All right. Go ahead and give us
What do you
screen
need?
share. I'm gonna have you stop your screen share.
You got it.
Perfect. And everyone is welcome to unmute themselves, turn your cameras on, whatever you feel comfortable. You're welcome to ask a question in any format possible. Our first question is how long can someone usually use a trackball or a head mouse for?
Yeah, this is a very good question. You'll notice that none of my pictographics involve time. So in other words, the length of those dashed lines and progressions are unknown. So there are people working with solutions for weeks, months, or years. It's impossible to predict. I think that as professionals, we have stopped trying to predict. And as long as a solution works solidly now, that's enough of a reason to get it implemented. And I think this is why Bridging Voice exists also, because if you had to figure it out, the solution, then that would eat up a lot of time. So there's no time with ALS, and we don't know. So I'd say weeks, months, years. It's unpredictable.
All right. Another question. How fast is eye tracking compared to a head mouse?
How fast is, and they are very similar. So they're equivalent, I guess, to single finger typing, if you will. So think of yourself at the bank ATM tapping out your password. Tap, 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 tap. That's a single finger mouse. Well, a head tracker or an eye tracker is pretty much the same thing. Target, 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 target. So all things equal, in other words, the body being, regardless of your body's ability or disability, if you can move your head as fast as you can move your eyes or your fingers, then all speeds are the same. The eyes are very fast. There are people who eye track at a half second, a gap between selections. I would say that head mouse would have a lot of trouble keeping up with that rate, although it is possible. Even finger typing, is single finger typing is more competitive. I would guess that finger typing and eye tracking are similar, and head tracking might be a little more slow, but a little more free. You can cover 2 screens with a head mouse, for instance. There are advantages for each.
All right. When signing up, we had quite a few questions. Quite a few people actually asked the same question. Do you remember that question, Eddie? Was so the general statement was, when is eye tracking going to have autofocus?
Mm-hmm.
which I'm
Oh, yes.
assuming was
Oh,
auto calibration. Like 4 people asked the same question.
right.
I'll let you speak
So,
to that.
Some of my colleagues might want to jump in here, but I would say this, that the process of calibrating or is allowing the cameras to see your eyes in different positions and then applying that to targets. The most functional target, for most users is the keyboard. So testing your calibration on a keyboard is really the final say. How good is your calibration? Now, how could that automatically happen? I do not know, and I don't know of any product that has that. Usually, the calibration process is separate from the testing and usage. I like the idea that the keyboard use would be a calibration in and of itself. So instead of having to leave to a calibration. So it's an interesting thought. I haven't seen anyone tackle that yet. Just simply by usage, it becomes more accurate.
Right. And because this question was asked so many times, I will also go ahead and put a link to our, oh, sorry, I was hearing a couple things in my ear at the same time. I'm going to put a link here to our Bridging Voice training about positioning for eye tracking. May help some people with that. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the link or in the chat. And then another question came in. Can you figure out what my capabilities are remotely, or do you need to come to my house?
I don't need to come to your house. In fact, Bridging Voice is not going to come to your house. We do work remotely, and we as a group, and we are a large group, we're now 7 professionals who are treating people remotely, evaluating, training, and supporting people remotely. And I think that we are unanimous in the relative power of the remote interface to see you in your home and to see what we need to see, the angles, the screen, the position of the bed, the window behind you. We really can see what we need to see remotely. The only thing that we can't do is turn knobs and screws, physically reaching through the camera. But we do remote control of the computers and devices almost on all devices, and we can mouse alongside you. So I think it's been satisfying for us, and I have the feeling that pals feel the same way, and their caregivers feel the same way. So you don't have to clean up your house. We're not coming.
All right, a question came in. Where can we get these devices when insurance is not available?
That's a great question. So insurance only is available for the higher end of devices, and specifically, I would say communication devices. So most PALs wait to fund with their insurance a speech generating device. So almost everything else that I mentioned today, almost everything else, and again, my colleagues are listening carefully, almost everything else is never fundable by insurance. So really what we're talking about is funding a speech generating device. And if for some reason you don't have insurance, or you're on hospice, or you're in a nursing facility, or there's another reason why insurance cannot be utilized, then there's lending libraries is really the place to go. So on a local level, ALS Association chapters often have lending libraries and other organizations. And then some of our partners, specifically Team Gleason, Compassionate Care ALS, have these are partners of ours, also not-for-profits, have distributed many speech generating devices for long-term loaners as long as a PALS needs them.
Also too, Marty put in that Mac Angels Foundation may be able to help provide grants towards funding these devices. That was put in. And then also a lot of the ALS associations, most people don't know, but they have grants available to their pals, oftentimes $1,000 grants or something that you can use towards purchasing some of these, some of this equipment that Eddie was talking about. Also too, I think as a lot of people know, when you buy something that isn't a medical device that often gets used in these adaptive situations, the cost can be inexpensive for the benefit that it gives you. And we are definitely happy to help locate those items.
I think I gave a little bit of an incomplete answer there too. I focused on speech generating devices, saying that insurance would not pay for the other devices, but those other devices are also available at foundation lending libraries. Again, including all the organizations mentioned. We'll have trackballs to loan. We'll have head mice to loan. We'll have even be able to gift a communication app to your phone, even provide a tablet to run that communication app. Bridging Voice has those communication boards to send out. So there are lots of resources, sources for this equipment. But your question was about insurance, so I got a little sidetracked on that.
Krista, thank you for sharing that. She shared a link for everybody to locate your state assistive technology project and their lending libraries. She provided an online link. I have not used that link before. I don't know if any of my colleagues have, so I can't speak to it, but thank you, Krista, for sharing that. So another question came in, which is, would you work with my speech therapist to train them how they can help me? They're great and they want to help and they want to learn more.
That's the greatest question, and we'd love to work as a team. So the team is the person with ALS, family members, caregivers, and professionals. So we want to train and help a speech therapist or an occupational therapist or any interested party to learn what they need to know to make the implementation of technology a success, to be part of an evaluation process. So if someone is needing to get a speech generating device, that speech pathologist might become the lead person on the ground in the house, in doing that evaluation with vendor support, with our support. But that is, we are not looking to reinvent the wheel, tread on anyone else's services. We don't want to duplicate services, so we want to enhance services, and part of that is training local therapists, local caregivers.
We had another question come in. What remote access tools are we using?
We use TeamViewer almost exclusively. When we can't use TeamViewer, we use Quick Assist, which is Microsoft's equivalent. We find that TeamViewer is a little more powerful, and Bridging Voice has a corporate license for TeamViewer, so you only need the free version of it on your end, and it seems to have worked very stably, very well for a long time for us. We're pleased with it.
Right, and someone asked, how can I get a communication board?
Trinity, how can someone get a communication board?
Deborah, would you like to, and Annie, would you guys like to jump in? Neither of you are turning your mutes off.
I can jump in on that one. If we have new boards that we just created that Eddie mentioned. If you email anyone on our team, or if you don't have someone's email, you can just email info@bridgingvoice.org, and we can email you a PDF of that you can print at home. We're also working on having some laminated copies that we'll be able to mail out in the future. But right now, we're able to email you a PDF copy that can be printed out on any home printer right now. So feel free to just reach out to us and let us know if you need one.
All right, we got another question. Do you help folks with smart home solutions like Echo, Google Home? and guidance on all the accessories like fire cubes, the voice controls for TV?
So the answer is yes and no. Um, we would like to help. We don't generally do the setup of devices. I know that there are other organizations that take a more active role in setting up a system or providing a system. I know that Team Gleason, for instance, does send out home kits for a basic home automation. However, most of the ones you mentioned are voice activated. And so we're interested in all things communicative, and communicating to your Google Home or to your Alexa, or is part of communication in our modern 21st century age. So if you normally would say, hey Siri, or hey Google, turn on the lights, then your speech communication app can say it. Your speech generating device can say it. And so that is solidly in our domain to help you program the buttons that will speak to your systems. So something that I mentioned earlier, it was the case study of someone using voice control. It was the last case study, Allie. She was familiar with voice control, but could no longer generate enough speech to use it. However, when she got her eye gaze speech generating device, she used the speech generating device to talk to her iPad using the voice control commands, like those of you who know them, go home, swipe right, swipe left, etc. So the yes and no, I hope is clear. We don't provide, we don't install, but we integrate. We help integrate your systems into your access and communication systems.
All right, we got just a few more minutes. Anybody else have any questions? And feel free, you can turn your camera on, you can talk to us, or you can send us a message. Just want to see if there's anything else any other questions? So Synovia asked, I would like to get a wheelchair mount for my Tobii Dynavox device. The insurance didn't cover the mount. Are there grants that I can apply for to help with this? Deborah, would you like to answer?
Yes. Hi, Synovia. It's great to see you here. I can help you with that. We can try to insurance again. If not, we can go to one of the loan closets and design a wheelchair mount for you and get you a wheelchair mount from either a loan closet or from one of these other organizations. So, yeah.
All right. Another question came in. Do you have a communication assessment form that you use that could be shared?
Deborah, you want to keep your mic on?
Actually, we're putting one together. We don't have a particular form that we use. So there are presently 3 speech pathologists on our team that are doing AAC evals. And we all have maybe a little bit of a different format. So we are actually putting our heads together and putting together a form, but right now we don't have a particular form. No.
Maybe reach back towards the end of summer.
Future training.
Okay.
But if you have any questions and you want to go over I'm going to go back to that question. If you want to talk about communication evaluations and you have some questions, just reach out to myself or Trinity or Annie, and we can have spend some time with you and review what goes into the communication evaluation.
All right. Okay, well, if there's no other questions for today, thank you again for joining us today. Please come again and join us again in the future. We should be having another training within the next couple of months. We hope to see you all there, and feel free to reach out to any one of us for support or questions, or to give us any comments about future trainings of anything you might like to see. We would love to be able to offer those, and hope you all have a good week, and thank you again for joining us.